29 years old, and Jesus saved me from a life of alcoholism. I tried everything I knew. But through the prayers of God's people and intercessory prayer, Jesus became real in my life. And He is sweet to me. And when I think of what Jesus did for me, how He died on Calvary that we might have petition with God, that our sins might be forgiven, I'm very humble. You know, Jesus told His disciples when they were making fun of a woman that was kind of making a fool out of herself, He said, if you've forgiven Him a lot, you love a lot. And I love Him a lot this morning. And I do praise Him. And I'm not ashamed of Jesus Christ through the gospel. Jesus is the sweetest name I know. And He just the same as His lovely name. And that's the reason why I love Him so. For Jesus is the sweetest name I know. We're indeed the bride of Christ, and when you have a wedding, a bride walks the aisle and comes down to the front. Why don't we that love the Lord and consider ourselves the bride of Christ, let's come to the front and have prayer this morning. Let's walk the aisle, bride, and let's come on down here and join together. And let's be in one accord. There's great power. There's great strength when God's people are in one accord. There's not enough room to kneel, that's fine. We'll just all stand up here. Let's sing as we come. Jesus is the sweetest name I know. And He just the same as His lovely name. And that's the reason why I love Him so. For Jesus is the sweetest name I know.
Sometimes I don't, but I'm trying.
Let God be God, for He can see the way ahead. Eternity, yes, He knows your heart. He'll meet your needs. When your faith is weak, He'll help you unbelieve. Let God be God. You are a child of faith, facing the unknown, wandering through a wilderness, led by the hand of God alone. Though you may feel afraid and even question why, still you can trust in Jesus. He'll be your strength, your source, your guide. Just let God be God, for He can see the way ahead. Eternity, yes, He knows your heart. He'll meet your needs. When
Carry them to Jesus and leave them in the Savior's care. He knows how you feel. Yes, He has been there. Won't you let go and let God do what only He can do? Just let God be God, for He can see the way ahead. Eternity, yes, He knows your heart. He'll meet your need. When your faith is weak, He'll help you run believe. Let God faith in God can move a mighty mountain. Faith can calm the troubled sea. Faith can make the desert like a fountain. Faith can bring the victory. Sing it with us. Oh, faith in God can move a mighty mountain. Yes, faith can calm the troubled sea. Faith can make the desert like a fountain. Faith can bring the victory. That applies to everything. That applies to the sewage system that we're trying to ask God for the finances for. Jehovah Jireh, our provider. He's our provider in everything, but it takes the faith of believing in Him. It takes the faith of believing in Him. That little chorus spawned a revival that lasted 4 weeks, I think. 4 weeks, was it, John? That was before John was saved. 150 some souls won to Jesus Christ. And it wasn't in another denomination, and it wasn't in Church of Nazarene, but a sister denomination, a holiness denomination. They called on God. They got up every night. A little Methodist lady got up. She was 74 years of age. She stood about 4 feet high. She sang this song every night, and that spawned the 150 souls that were won to Jesus Christ. Every night we met together. We prayed, we praised, and we had the power of the Holy Spirit in those meetings. And they sang this little song, and miracles happened. Miracles are still happening today. And if we want to see them, it takes faith in God. Can move a mighty mountain. Oh, His faith, our faith, can calm the troubled sea. Yes, faith can make the desert like a fountain. Faith can bring the victory.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Amen. How many of you are frozen? I feel like I'm in Anchorage.
Run, you know what I was thinking? John Pfeifers says that we need the cushions.
Yeah.
We could get the, have you ever heard of those stadium blankets?
Yeah.
He could sell tabernacle blankets and cushions. That'd be a good idea.
Everybody's cold. Wave at me. Get the blood flowing. I want you to be sure to hear the Word of God this morning. It's good to see you. Amen. Thank you, Pfeifers, for ministering to us this morning. Praise the Lord. I'd like for you to open your Bibles this morning to the Old Testament book of 2 Chronicles. Would you please? And while you're turning there, I want to ask you a question. And that question is, what do you do when you don't know what to do? Has anybody ever been in a situation when things have happened in your life or your family or whatever, and you kind of scratch your head and you said, now what do we do? Has anybody ever been there? Most of us have. Those of you that have not, be of good cheer, that day will come. When all of your conventional wisdom and education and knowledge and all of that will come to a screeching, abrupt halt. And you will not know exactly how to deal with the situation that is confronting you. But I am so thankful that God's Word gives us some help. Amen. And when we don't know what to do, it gives us some tools to find out what to do, and that's what I want to preach about this morning. In the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 20, I'm sorry I didn't tell you the chapter, did I? Chapter 20, we find a familiar story concerning King Jehoshaphat. King Jehoshaphat, in this particular chapter, has been confronted by some of his men who have brought him bad news. They said to him that there is a vast army of the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the Meunites coming to wage war upon us. Now, it's bad enough that we're going to be engaged in war, but it's really bad with these three groups of people. Because not only were they the enemy, but they were renowned and had a reputation of being savage warriors. Brutal to their enemy. And so we are being approached by this vast army of savage, brutal enemy soldiers. I mean, they're on their way. They're not talking about coming. They have been spotted. They are approaching us. And the Bible tells us in verse 3 that Jehoshaphat's immediate response was one of alarm. Are you sure? You're not kidding me now. It's not April Fool's. This is real. Oh man, what do we do? His first reaction was one of alarm. And I know that no matter how strong of a Christian we are, how long we've been walking with God, when bad news comes our way, we have immediate reactions of alarm, don't we? It's not an expression of a lack of faith in God. It's just our human nature being alarmed and concerned and overwhelmed. And we may throw our hands up and say, oh no. But then we find immediately following that statement that Jehoshaphat was alarmed, we find this statement. In the midst of his alarm, he resolved to inquire of the Lord. Good. Bad news. We're about to be confronted by savage soldiers, and we cannot stand up against them, and we are in a peck of trouble. I think I'd better talk to God about it. Good. In fact, I know, I resolve, I determine that I will talk to God about it. Amen. Now in this chapter we find a beautiful prayer. And that's what I want to focus on this morning. Jehoshaphat called the people of Judah and Jerusalem together at the temple. And he shared with them their status and what was going on. And then he led them in this prayer. And I want to read the prayer for you. And then we're going to break it into 5 sections. And I'm going to give you 5 things to do when you don't know what to do. 5 things to do when you don't know what to do. And it will help bring you and I through any situation that we're not sure how to handle. Here's what he says. O Lord, God of our fathers, are you not the God who is in heaven? You rule over all the kingdoms of the nations. Power and might are in your hand, and no one can withstand you. O our God, did you not drive out the inhabitants of this land before your people Israel, and give it forever to the descendants of Abraham, your friend? They have lived in it and have built in it a sanctuary for your name, saying, if calamity comes upon us, whether the sword of judgment or plague or famine, we will stand in your presence before this temple that bears your name, and will cry out to you in our distress, and you will hear us and save us. But now, here are men from Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, whose territory you would not allow Israel to invade when they came from Egypt. So they turned away from them and didn't destroy them. See how they are repaying us by coming to drive us out of the possession you gave us as an inheritance. Oh, our God, will you not judge them? For we have no power to face this vast army that is attacking us. We don't know what to do, but our eyes are upon you. Point number 1, when you don't know what to do, we learn from Jehoshaphat is this. Establish or reestablish the sovereignty of God. Listen to what he says in the very first verse of his prayer. O Lord, God of our fathers, are you not the God who is in heaven? You rule over all the kingdoms of the nations, and power and might are in your hand, and no one can withstand you. Here's what he's saying. I know that the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the Meunites are coming. And I know they have a reputation of savagery and brutality. And I know they are bigger than us. And I know that we have no chance against them. But God, are you not still the God in heaven? And are you not still God over all the nations on the earth? Here's what he's telling the people of Judah that is listening to his leadership through prayer. He's saying, look, folks, as big as they are, God is still bigger. Amen. And so we cannot be consumed with the might and the awesomeness of our enemy, but we must transfer our gaze from the enemy to God. For when you look to God, no one else equals him. Amen. Praise God. And so he's saying, what we're doing right here at the very first, when we don't know exactly how to handle this situation, but we're looking to the one who does. Amen. We're looking to the one who is still God, who is still on the throne, who has not been usurped, who is still the authority. Amen. And we know that the Ammonites and the Meunites and all of those otherites are subject to God. Are you hearing this, church? I don't care what your problem is, it's still subject to the power of God. Amen. There's not been a problem yet that God has looked at and said, oh no. Now what do I do? God looks at your problem and says, no problem. Hello? I like what Brother Johnson said. The phone is ringing. I love that. I do. I love that. And so what Jehoshaphat does at the very first, he says, look, folks, we know we have a problem here, but we also know we've still got a God that is in control. Praise God. And so the first thing to do when you don't know what to do is just take a moment and slow down and look to God and reestablish the fact that He is still God. He knows your problem before you ever experience it. He's still God. You believe that? Amen. Some of us give so much glory to our problem and so much attention to our problem that we totally make God a non-issue. Come on. I am embarrassed to say that many times in my 13 years as a pastor, in board meetings, I gave more credit to the devil and what he was doing to us than I did giving attention to God and what He wanted to do for us. We build these problems up, and we polish them, and we shine them, and we soothe them, and stroke them, and why we've got so many problems. Come on. We've just got so many problems. If you knew the problems we had, nobody's got problems like we've got problems. You know what God's saying? Come on, look up here. It's not a problem for me. Let me handle it. Oh no, God, we got to stroke it a little while. District Assembly's coming up, and I can make the whole district aware of my problem. You don't have to like it, but I've heard a lot of those reports. Instead of giving the God who is still sovereign the glory for handling it. So all Jehoshaphat's doing is he is admitting we don't know what to do. He's not some big shot king who knows all the answers. He's saying we don't know what to do, but what we do know is we have to turn our attention to the sovereign God who is still on the throne. And we still have to understand that the enemy who is fast approaching is subject to our God. Amen. The second thing that he does, let's look at it. Oh, our God, did you not drive out the inhabitants of this land before your people, Israel, and give it forever to the descendants of Abraham, your friend? They have lived in it and have built in it a sanctuary for your name. Now here's what he's doing. Not only is he saying, okay, God, you are sovereign, you are Lord, you are on the throne, our enemy is subject to you, but he's also saying, you know, we've faced enemies before, and you have gone before us to drive them out. We have faced battles before, but you were always there to give us victory. We have faced hurdles and obstacles, but you have been faithful. And so the second thing that he does is he reminds Judah, he reminds you know, we've been in this kind of a situation before, and God has never failed us. He recalled the faithfulness of God. Some of us are so quick to forget. God has been faithful over all the years, but we get in a pinch and we suddenly forget it all. Now what do we do? Am I right? Am I the only one that does that? I mean, God has been faithful, and he will continue to be faithful. I have learned more about that in my 3 years as an evangelist than I ever did as a pastor. I preached faith, I preached the faithfulness of God all through my pastorate, but I tell you what, I've lived it for 3 years. Amen. And I am amazed at how God continues to be faithful to me. Amen. And I am guilty of, at times, beginning to panic instead of rest. Earlier this summer, as you know, stepping out of the pastor and going into evangelism is a giant leap of faith. And God has been faithful through all of that. It's a remarkable story, and I give God all the glory for that. And yet I'm a slow learner, because I will be looking at some time that I don't have camp meetings or work, and I'm looking at a couple of weeks that I don't have an income if I don't work. And so, that makes sense, doesn't it? And so, just a couple of weeks ago, I closed a camp meeting in Chicago Central, over here not very far, and I had 2 weeks with nothing. And you begin to panic a little bit. I do. But the Monday that I got home from camp meeting up in Kankakee, my phone rang. A complete stranger said, I hear you paint houses. My daughter said you painted a house for her and did a good job. I said, who's your daughter? He told me. I said, I didn't tell him this, but I had no earthly idea he this lady. I had no ads in the paper. I had nothing on billboards nowhere. The Monday I got home, my phone rang. I started work Tuesday morning. Good. I didn't need a paint job before that, but I needed it then. You know what God did? He proved once again He knows my need, and He has been faithful. Now, the trick's going to be the next time I'm looking at two works, not to start walking the floor. And my wife, you know, she's not here this morning, but my wife is the one that just says, relax. He's always provided before. That's what Jehoshaphat's saying. He's always provided before, and He will be here right on time this time. Amen. Turn real quick with me to Psalms 139, would you? This is another perspective. As the writer says, where can I go from your spirit? Verse 7, 139, verse 7 in Psalms. Where can I go from your spirit? I don't think that this is a statement of someone trying to escape the presence of God, but I think it's someone who is just thinking about, is there anywhere that I can go where God isn't with me? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, and your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. Amen. Did you hear that? If I am engulfed in darkness, it's not darkness to God. He sees right through it. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. That has helped me, because what it's saying is wherever I go, in whatever situation, God is with me. And what Jehoshaphat's saying, I don't really know what to do, but all I can do is stand on the fact that you've always been there before. And I believe you'll be there again. It helps us to recall the faithfulness of God. That's the second thing to do. So the first thing you need to do is just reestablish fact. God's not moved. God's still there. God is still on the throne. The second thing is God's always been there. When we needed it, He'll be there again this time. The third thing we find in verse 9. This is what Israel had said. If calamity comes upon us, whether the sword of judgment or plague or famine, we will stand in your presence before this temple that bears your name, and we will cry out to you in our distress, and you will hear us. Here's what they're saying. God, we just want you to know. Now we know that our immediate concern is these armies. But we also know that if that's not the issue, it could be plague or it could be famine. And we just want you to know, as we stand before you on this day, that whatever it is that comes our way, you can count on us to stand right here in your presence and call to you for our help. Amen. We're not going to run off like a bunch of chickens, and we're not going to start seeking other direction. We're going to stand right here in the midst of our questions, and we're going to seek you for our answers. He is reestablishing their commitment to serve God. Amen. I believe with all my heart, just as Job, I talked about him yesterday, just as Job did over and over, in the midst of our concern, in the midst of our problem, it does us good to let God know we're sticking with Him, period. Amen. We don't serve Him for what He's given us. We serve Him because we love Him. And whether it's good times or bad times, we're still yours. And that's what Jehoshaphat's saying. We built this place in honor of you, and we're going to stay here. Whether it's the sword, whether it's plague, whether it's famine, whatever it is that comes our way, we are going to stay right here and call you to your name for our help. Amen. The fourth thing. I like this. It just helps me know Jehoshaphat's really human. Now notice what he's done. So far he has reestablished the sovereignty of God. He has recalled the faithfulness of God, and he has reestablished the commitment of the people of Israel to God. But now, the fourth point, he says, but now, here are men from Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, God, whose territory you would not let us invade. In other words, can we read it in our own language here? God, we're in this predicament because of you. God, with all due respect, we have been trying to be obedient. And because we were obedient, you would not let us destroy these people with the other people that we destroyed. because we didn't, they're coming back to destroy us. God, we just kind of want you to know we're in this thing because we're trying to do your will. Have you ever felt like telling God that? Come on, be honest. God, I have been trying my dead level best. And it seems like the harder I try to do right, the worse it gets. I mean, I just try to be obedient and walk in faith and do your will. And I mean, it just seems that the water gets higher and higher. God, I don't understand, but I'm trying to do this. And God, it's really your fault that this is happening. Now, don't be mad at me. But that's just how I feel. Trying to pastor this church, but God, nothing works. And it just doesn't. I feel like you called me here, and I feel like this is where you want me. But God, what is going on here? Some of you laymen, God, I've been sticking with this church for years, and I just don't understand. Anybody been there? It's okay, you know, to tell God how you feel. I mean, Jehoshaphat is just laying on the line. God, we came in here and we wiped out a bunch of people. And you said no. When it comes to these guys. And now because we didn't, here they are. We've seen them before and we really don't want to see them again. But then he goes on to the fifth point. Once he makes his feelings known, once he verbalizes how he really feels, he closes it this way. God, will you not judge them? For we have no power to face this vast army. We don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you. Here's what Jehoshaphat closes the prayer with saying. God, we realize where our strength lies. We know that if we're going to make it, it's going to be because of you. Amen. Amen. We will trust you with the fact that you know what you're doing. When you told us no, we'll trust you with that. We don't understand it. And humanly speaking, it didn't make a lot of sense, but we'll trust you with it. You're the judge. You're the final say. They are subject to you. Now, God, you know and we know, everybody knows, that we don't have enough power to go against this group. We don't have enough horses. We don't have enough chariots. We don't have the manpower. We're outgunned. We don't know what to do. But, listen, in the midst of an approaching enemy, our eyes are on you. Amen. Not on the enemy that's approaching. They scare us. They intimidate us. They frighten us. They throw us into turmoil. But God, in the midst of the approaching enemy, our eyes are on you. Amen. You are the one who has to do it. Amen. If we go down, we'll go down looking at you. Amen. If we make it, we'll make it looking at you. For God, you can do anything. I experienced this little principle, although I didn't know it was this principle, when I was in 5th grade. My father is a pastor. He's still pastoring today in the Indianapolis district. And we were living in Martinsville, Indiana. I just moved there that summer. And I'm not sure what happened to me, but I had a terrible time adjusting to Martinsville, Indiana. I would go to school and I would just cry like a baby. I'd hide behind my book at my desk like this with tears streaming down my face. I don't know why, I just didn't adjust. I was in the hospital twice that year, had surgery once. It wasn't a good year, it was just a bad year. Along about the 1st of December, with Christmas approaching, my teacher, Mrs. Knapp, asked the class for a volunteer who would bring a Christmas tree for the class to decorate. I put my hand up. I didn't think about it. I just put my hand up. I still do that when I go to auction and stuff. And she said, okay, Mike, have it here on Monday. This was a Friday. That's okay. The only problem with that situation is I did not tell my dad until Monday. I got up Monday morning and I was getting my breakfast and getting ready, and I said to Dad, I said, oh, Dad, I need a Christmas tree this morning. He said, where in the world am I going to get a Christmas tree? Well, about that time, my brother Jim, who the Pfeifers know, they worked with him several times, was in the Army, the Air Force at that time, and had come home for a couple of days. Driven in on Sunday night and late, and was just getting up that morning. And he came into the kitchen about that time when I'm telling Dad that I need a Christmas tree, and Dad's telling me we don't have a Christmas tree. And my brother Jim said, oh, that's no problem. He said, I was coming home last night late, and he said, I saw a Christmas tree beside the road. And he said, I, for some reason, stopped and put that thing in my trunk. He said, there's a tree in the garage. Now, don't get too blessed yet. You don't know my brother Jim. I was so thrilled. There is a God. Walked out in that garage. I can take you right there right now. Walked down that garage, and there, sure enough, was a Christmas tree. There was only one problem with this Christmas tree that had fallen off of a truck. It was dead. Now, it was obviously dark when my brother stopped to pick it up. And so I looked at this tree. It was turning brown. Needles were starting to fall off of it. But it's the only tree I've got. So we load the tree in my dad's trunk, and we go to East Elementary School in Martinsville, Indiana, and we unload that tree and bring it into class, and we set it in the tree stand. And you know how in grade school you make these construction paper chains and all popcorn and all that. But we start decorating this tree. Just right after we started decorating this tree, my teacher, Mrs. Knapp, got this awful look on her face. And she called me over and she said, Mike, she said, I'm really sorry, but we just can't use this tree. She could not have devastated me more if she'd have hit me with a baseball bat. I knew that. It was a dead tree. But it's the best I could do at that moment. I said, okay. I mean, a basketball from someplace came and settled right in my throat. Here's what I said. I can take you to the room right now. I said, that's okay. I'll go call my dad. She said, I'll go with you. So while my classmates dismantled the tree, Mrs. Knapp put her arm around a little old crying fifth grader and walked me to Mr. Smith's office. And I picked up the phone. It's Monday morning, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I picked up the phone and I said, Dad, they can't use my tree. Can you bring me another one? He said, I'll try. I'll see what I can do. I hung up the phone and I walked back to my class knowing my dad was going to take care of it. In just a little while, there was a knock at the door. And I could see my dad, they had those long windows in the door. I could see my dad standing in the hallway. So I went to the door and he took me out in the hall. And he and my brother are related. tree that was as crooked as the east coast of the United States. This thing just waved at you when you went by. It was just, I said, Dad, what are we going to do with this tree? He said, Mike, it's all I could find. But he said, I brought some tools with me. I've got a saw here, and I've got a hammer and chisels. We'll make it work. And I can take you right now to the porch on the outside there of East Elementary School, now called Smith Elementary School after our principal, where my dad and I, for it seemed like a half a day, reshaped a Christmas tree. And finally, that thing was in the tree stand, standing straight, green, and no needles falling off. And we carried that thing into my classroom, and my classmates just oohed and awed. And they decorated that tree from top to bottom. And a few days later, my classmates all sent my dad a letter. Dear Mr. Palmer, thank you for our beautiful tree. You see, when I was in that crisis experience, the first thing I thought of was, I've got to call my dad. That's who I've got to talk to. Because my dad can handle it. If there's anybody that's going to help me in this deal, it's going to be my dad. I didn't think about my principal. I didn't think about my Sunday school teacher. I thought about my dad. And you know, there's something funny going on here, but I'm 40 years old now. My dad's 70. If I get in a pinch even today, you know who I call? I call my dad. Because I just feel like my dad has the right answer. That's Jehoshaphat. We've got a problem here. We're not sure how to handle it. I think I'll talk to my dad. He can handle anything. The Moabites, no problem for my dad. The Ammonites, no problem for my dad. The Meunites, no problem for my dad. What we've got to do is talk to God. Amen. So what do you do when you don't know what to do? Call home. He'll see you through. Right after this prayer, a man by the name of Jehaziel came up and said, King, I need to tell you something. Verse 15, he says, don't be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army. For the battle is not yours, but the Lord's. It's really not our problem. We're His. It's His problem. So don't be afraid. Go out and meet the army. Face your problem. Don't back down. And watch the deliverance of God. Amen. Praise God. I wish that I could promise you that you wouldn't have battles to fight. Dead Christmas trees. Crooked Christmas trees. But sometimes that's life. But when you don't know what to do, recognize Him as still God. Realize He's always been faithful. Reestablish the fact that you're going to serve Him no matter what. Amen. And then just let God be God. Amen. you guys sing that song again? Let God be God. I want us to praise Him for that this morning, could we? Some of you know what I'm talking about. You've been there. Some of you may be there right now. While the Pfeifers sing this song they sang before, it's just a great song, Let God Be God. Or, I don't know what the title of it is. You know, God so desperately wants to be God for us. And really what He's saying is, you know, you've got my number, call me. He said you can come boldly into my presence so that you can find help in the time of need. Amen. You don't have to crawl sheepishly in, timidly asking. He said, just come on in. I want to help you. I'm God. I've never seen a problem I can't handle. Amen. So I would like, as they sing this morning, just to praise God for His faithfulness. But there might be somebody here this morning that you're in a situation that you really don't know what to do. This would be a good time to talk to God. Just say, God, I don't know what to do. But I just want you to know this morning that my eyes are on you. I'm not going to be consumed by my problem. I'm going to be consumed with you. Amen. You are my source. I rest in you. There may be a husband and a wife this morning. You're dealing with a situation. You can come together. You know, there could even be this morning a pastor and some of his laymen. You're looking for direction for your church. Wouldn't this be a great time just to let God know it's still His church? And you're still His people. And you're seeking His will. Wouldn't it be great just to see some people pray together? Amen. To find the will of God. Let's just rejoice for a few moments as they sing. And whatever, if you want to pray, we welcome you to pray, and then we'll be done.
Just let God be God, for He can see the way ahead. Eternity, yes, He knows your heart. He'll meet your needs when your faith is weak. He'll help you unbelief. Let God be God. You are a child of faith, and you're facing the unknown, wandering through a wilderness led by the hand of God alone. Though you may feel afraid and even question why, still you can trust in Jesus. He'll be your source, your strength, your guide. Just let God be God, for He can see the way ahead. Eternity, yes, He knows your heart. He'll meet your needs when your faith is weak. He'll help your unbelief. Let God be God. So when the trials of life seem more than you can bear, just carry them to Jesus and leave them in the Savior's care. Well, He knows how you feel. Yes, He's been there too. Won't you let go and let God do what only He can do? Just let God be God,
just everybody that will, could you just gather around the front here today? Maybe you know someone up here you'd like to gather and pray with. You know, God is glorified when we seek His face. And that's what we want to do this morning. Just find a place to pray. Let's just seek His face this morning. You may know somebody today that's in this predicament. Lift them up. Intercede for them. Stand in the gap for them. Would you?
God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me. God answers prayer. God answers prayer. God answers prayer. He's so good to me. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I love you, Lord, and I thank you and I praise you.